sheep. Here's a black sheep. Even if we wanted to, the clock cannot be weak. Watch this like this. Why should I swing it like that? Because of fact, or me it might not attract. Therefore I ignore, do what I feel inside. I live with me, I got my back tonight, y'all know what I'm saying. Glorious, I ain't playing. Need to get with this and get with this without delay and see. In actuality, you went to kid and be, I made it look easy because it is to me. Now when they talk capacity, it was filled. Anytime a honey gave us play, never was a fool. So we finished school, you never see us sweat, yo, you never see us drool. Out to rock the gold while I'm still here to rock. Don't punch girls, hey yo, I don't punch your clock. Gotta go see your lady by the cat. And you can't beat that with a bag. Yo, you can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I think you get with this, yo, this is kind of fat, yo.
Back in the day, I moved from a small town called Fayetteville, North Carolina, to Sanford, North Carolina. I initially got to Fayetteville because my stepfather was in the Army, so he moved us from New York, where I basically grew up, to North Carolina. When I moved to Sanford, I met Long through a mutual friend who had turntables and mics and a little setup in his crib. And basically every day, you know, for about a year, the year I spent in Sanford, I was in, you know, this town Sanford, about a year, a little over maybe. Every day, basically, we went to my man's house, we'd cut in school or whatever, hanging out later. At the end of the night, we always wound up there. We all was DJs, we all would spit rhymes, and you know what I'm saying, we would make tapes just for each other, what have you. And after a year or so of consistently doing that, and Long was like the youngest one, you know what I'm saying, and it probably would have been three of us, ideally, had my man, you know what I'm saying, he kind of wound up getting, you know, little troubles, what have you, you know what I'm saying, and having to deal with the Lord, and kind of removed him from the situation. But that was my dude, and it probably would have been me and him rhyming, and Long probably been our DJs, to be honest with you. And, you know, we was like a little crew that was real cool. And years later, you know, I wound up bumping into Long on the streets in New York, that he had really stuck with it as far as, you know, him having aspirations of being, you know, a DJ and producing and what have you. And I kind of had moved forward. I left Carolina the week I finished school and was back in New York, learning about myself and what have you, getting into different things. And I bumped into Long on a Humble, and you know, he was my little dude, and he kind of was in a tight squeeze as far as his living conditions, and I just got a new apartment. I offered him a room, and come to find out, you know, he's hanging out with De La, he's hanging out with Jungle, he's doing this, that, and the other, yeah, and I was really impressed with it. And he was like, you know, yo, you always rhymed, you know, like, yo, you should come meet these cats and maybe we could put something together. And, you know, his circle was real with cats that I really respected, and I felt like it was really an opportunity, and I was like, why not, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of met cats, and slowly but surely relationships started being, you know, formed and what have you, and me and Long's relationship as well kind of grew into Black Sheep. Me and Long we broke up years and years ago initially, kind of after the second album. I guess, me personally, I got into a space where I was just really unhappy, you know what I'm saying, sincerely. Even at the top of the charts, I was just in a bad space to find out that a lot of the things and a lot of the people around me were far from who and what I thought they were, and represented totally things that were to contrary to where I stood. And, you know, without necessarily stressing anyone or any one thing, it was definitely a bunch of different things that made me feel like I needed to remove myself from the situation. And it definitely wasn't more so about what someone was trying to do. I think if anything, it was more about what I was willing to do behind what someone was trying to do. And, you know, and I came from a real place where I knew it was best for me to leave, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't look at it at the time, you know, like the money wasn't nowhere near what money is now. You know, like people kind of look at us like we were rich and lost it. We never made money. I've never been a millionaire. I've never made $500,000, you know what I'm saying, to have lost it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm still kind of amazed at cats that do make it and lose it, you know what I'm saying? Because it was never about that for me, for writing a rhyme. Like, I didn't get into it for that per se. I really kind of believed in a vision, you know what I'm saying? And felt like this was something that I could do. And, you know, at the same time, felt like it was something I could make, you know, make a means, but it wasn't about that for me. I came from a place where every day, you know, I wrote a rhyme, or, you know, I cut, you know, that's just, you know, was just a part of ingrained of who I was. So back to, you know, like me and Long, like kind of splitting, initially, like, you know, like me and him wasn't really seeing eye to eye. And as men, sometimes that'll happen, and I kind of respected it, but felt it was important that I kind of remove myself. So when we tried to get back together initially, me and Long was trying to put it together, and it had been a long time for him as far as him putting some stuff together and production-wise, and even DJing. Like, I felt like, he wasn't in a space that he was really comfortable, and neither was I, you know what I'm saying? But I think him more so, whereas I was giving him equipment and things of that nature to kind of help him get situated. And I think ultimately, he wasn't happy with how I was presenting a strategy for us to move forward, and really didn't speak on it how he should have as a man, sincerely. Like, it was just the two of us, It wasn't like about a bunch of us that had to agree on the same thing. We could always just speak as partners, but it didn't really to play out like that, and it really wound up getting a little nasty, just to say that, ultimately I think he decided to do his own thing. And me as a man, I respect it and wish him nothing but the best. And, and honestly would hope that we would grow to be able to do some more shit down the line. But, not right now. Phife is doing much better, Phife is putting on a lot more weight, Like, yeah, I got a donor and what have you, And I haven't really spoken to him much recently, but he's doing much better. Like, everybody knows each other, and we all ask about one another constantly, It's pretty much not a day that doesn't go by that I don't speak to someone in some form or facet. If cats really want to know how to shine, you don't shine with a piece of jewelry. You don't shine with a car. You shine by taking care of your community, by being someone that people can look to as an advocate of what they're about. If Jay-Z, 50, whoever opened up a community center and helped single black mothers raise their children by going to work and having a safe haven for their children to be at until they got home, they'll be remembered for generations. Without so much as having to stress us with records about, bullshit. And that's not to take a shot at anybody, but just keeping it on a wholly real level. Like, don't get twisted. Hip hop is hip hop. And I want to hear those records that are braggadocious and this and the other. But if you making those records, then let your actions speak 100 times beyond that bullshit. I'm not saying don't make your record and front, because ultimately, like, ain't nobody really doing that these days. Even if you making those records, and even if your homies is running around, and even if you affiliated, in the real, that's just dry snitching as far as I'm concerned. Like, cats really need to, don't get me started. I'd like to see some more growth. But the cats that I see in the game, honestly, are so intelligent, and you see it in them. And I honestly see the music changing. I see the music changing. Like, sincerely, I see cats growing up. I see us becoming more accountable as far as, like, making sure that there are, parks and community centers and things of that I'm speaking of. Like, to say, like, one of my heroes is Warwick Dunn. He buys a house for a single black mother every year, that his mom was killed, and those are the type of people that, sincerely, I feel are important that we stress and glorify and give props to, because they're seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture isn't what we see in the mirror. Word up, the bigger picture is what's behind us. For real, for real. I guess the choice is yours. It's kind of like, I guess it would be the given, and I probably wouldn't have said that maybe 10 minutes ago, but like, really realizing it, like, sincerely, like, I think that was, like, me and Long really meshing well, and like, just everything that went on with it, was special, and I think it still reflects. Even though I think I could have picked a bunch of songs too.
Engine number 9.